What's up, guys? This is Lucid, and today I'm here with Slyder, as always, and we're gonna talk about basically the death and inevitable disappearance of physical media. So by physical media, we mean music, TV, movies, games, just owning those things, but physically having the case or the disc or whatever it is. That's pretty much like every medium is basically trying to fizzle that out, unfortunately. And I think to get into games, I guess we'll start with games. It's certain, I don't know if you knew this, but AAA games are starting to not release physically. And you might be thinking, oh, well, no one buys physically. But that's not true, because I saw a statistic, which I guess is quite debatable if it's reliable or not, but apparently Sony, in particular, there's at least 50% of their market, people buy physical games still, and that's a pretty big margin for companies to be like, yeah, no one wants those. It's like 50% is no one, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think as far as like, even if we want to say say DVDs for an example, when's the last time you bought a DVD?
Yeah. Well,
everything's on streaming platforms, so nobody buys like physical entertainment that's like that anymore.
Yeah. In terms of movies and music, yeah, it's basically, it doesn't matter too much if physical
CDs, and I think it's kind of been to the detriment of I think they're making less money because of that. You know what I mean?
Because it's not physical.
Not physical. I mean, look at it in like a music, like from the lens of like music, right? People would, how artists were doing by their record sales. Now,
right,
nobody really buys anything, so you're streaming.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
like streaming, yeah. Like what kind of income is streaming? Like you don't get paid that well for streaming. So honestly, it's easier to make money as an artist nowadays, but it's harder to make a good amount of money, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like music and TV, those aren't quite as bad as games, because like, I mean, yeah, people still buy like vinyls, I guess, like every so often, but like, yeah, like you said, like DVDs and stuff are like, no one buys them, but it doesn't matter too much really, because I mean, streaming services are, there's pros and cons, but streaming services are everywhere.
Probably pay a fair amount for the movies, but
yeah,
I don't know. At least like movie theaters and shit like that still exist.
Yeah, right.
If that started going away, that would be
that'd be horrible. I would hate that so much. It's, I guess you could argue that physical, in terms of games, I guess you could argue that the physical portion of it isn't going away, because look at music, like people still buy vinyls to this day. Not a lot of people, but some people do. So
well, that's because like a vinyl is more of an experience than anything,
Yeah, it might be different, but my point was like, yeah, maybe there's always going to be that small percentage of the crowd that does it, but that's not even the problem. The problem is that in terms of games, they're trying to fizzle it out regardless of if people buy them or not, because they don't want you owning your games. They want to just have complete and utter control over all your purchases. So if you don't have a physical game, you buy a game, if something happens with the license or something like that, you're losing that game and you're not going to be able to play it ever again. And if you have the physical version of it, you can play it whenever, no matter how much time has passed, no matter what the license is. None of it matters. You own the game. So
yeah, I mean, owning games does have its like high points and benefits. I mean, like for example, PS5, I have all these games, but I don't have a single physical version of any of them.
Yeah, I don't have many physical games
PS4
anymore.
I had this.
Oh yeah, I did too. Yeah, I definitely don't buy a lot of them, but it's nice to have the option, just because if something, say a game's really old, physical copies depreciate in value way more than digital, because you can go to GameStop, and if a game's 3 years old, you can get it for under $15. The store place is not like that. if a game is 3 years old on the
Well,
store, you're
the,
not paying just
the
fifteen
store
dollars.
does do like deals and shit like
Oh
that.
yeah,
But I
they
get what you're
do.
saying.
They do
Like
do sales, but
you
I
have
mean
to
just in
wait, and it
general.
has to be this perfect scenario where like
Yeah,
you're gonna find a game that you want for like under $10, and you like who knows when that's like you can't wait around. So if you
yeah,
don't have a lot of money and there's a game you really want, like you're probably just not gonna get to play it.
yeah. I mean, like on the store, like you're not, because in physical copies, like I said, if they depreciate in value pretty much on average, like no matter what. So like for example, if a digital game is old but it's not on sale, it's there's a good chance it's full prices, the same price as when it came out. But not always. I'm not saying every single case, but there's a good chance it is. Whereas if it's physical, if it's old, it's gonna be cheaper no matter what. You're not gonna see a physical copy that's just 60 to 70 bucks for no reason. Like that doesn't really happen. So it's and that's kind of starting to go away because Microsoft's next console is, I'm pretty sure they said it won't have a disk drive and won't support that in any way. So I mean that's kind of already, the writing's kind of on the wall. I mean, once they get rid of that in consoles, I mean, it won't matter what we want. If they don't have a disk drive, then yeah, physical media is
Yeah, I
done.
mean you have the option for some of these consoles to not have a disk drive already.
Yeah, well, right now we have the option, but in the future, maybe the next generation, like we might not have the
Well,
option.
yeah, yeah, that's a major bummer, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think that's good.
Especially, it's like, I mean, there's a lot of benefits that come with physical media.
Yeah,
You
for
have the
sure.
physical piece, you have artwork, people design booklets, people like, sometimes they have the special editions where, like you get like certain items and shit like that. Like all that stuff will go away. And even if they did that, what's the point of just buying random shit and then having to still download the game? Like, oh yeah, I have a $160 figure that's worth $160 really, and oh, I get to download my game. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think that seems kind of fucking stupid.
yeah, I mean, it's also, there's also a benefit, the benefit of, this is kind of going away too. But there's the benefit of for a long time, if you got the disc, you didn't have to like say you have really poor internet or something, and your downloads take a long time. Uh, a lot of the data was already on the disc, and you didn't have to download much.
Yeah, and that's something too is taking up less space. I mean, these games are so big.
That's
Like
it's
you can
worse
only have
into,
like 7, 8 games if you just have a
yeah,
standard console and don't add any RAM or anything to it.
yeah. That
What are
that's
you
not an
supposed to fucking do?
exaggeration. It's literally like maybe maybe 6 or 7 games. Like that's that's a pretty accurate number. Maybe even less. It depends on the game, obviously. But there's two factors. Like games are, not only are games getting bigger, but they're putting less data on the disc. So it's making it so that there's almost no point to get it on the disc. Like I remember I think it was Modern Warfare 3, the new Modern Warfare 3, not the old one. I think it I think it literally had like a few megabytes on the disc, and the rest you had to download. And it's a big game. It's a huge game. And it's like, why even put it on the disc at that point? What's even the point? Like obviously there's the whole ownership and everything, of course, but like, why are you just gonna make me download the entire game anyway? It didn't used to be like that, but now they're doing that, and it's like, why?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
That was a benefit. It was like, oh yeah, if I have poor internet, I can play the game faster because the most of the data's on the disc. But it's not really like that for a lot of games nowadays.
What's the last physical game that you bought?
Um, I think it might have been. I think it was a PS4 game that I played on PS5. I'm pretty sure it was the Kingdom Hearts trilogy. Because I had never played those games, and they all got remastered on PS4. So I bought it was all three games on one disc, and I did not want to pay full price on the store for it because those games are not cheap. It was literally like $50, maybe more on the store. I got the physical copy for less than 15. So, but yeah, I think that was the last time I bought a physical game, and that was quite a while ago now. So I guess
Yeah, what does something like GameStop do if physical media
I don't know.
is gone?
I mean, it's
Is
not.
their business just shut down?
I don't know. GameStop's been on their way out for a while, but if that happens, yeah, they're done for. And Best Buy, is it Best Buy? I think no. Is Best Buy or Walmart? I forget which one. One of them said they might stop selling physical games, and one of them already stopped selling Xbox games in particular because no one was buying the physical Xbox games. No one buys Xbox games too much in general. That's not a shot.
Yeah,
I'm
nobody
just
like Xbox sucks.
Yeah, I mean that's not even a shot. Like people just don't buy Xbox games. That's kind of just how it is. And they're saying, yeah, we might stop selling physical games, but for now, we're not selling Xbox games because what is the point? No one comes in and buys them. Why are we selling them? So like, but the other platforms are like, yeah, we'll keep those for now, but in the near future, Walmart or Best Buy, I forget which one, might they might just scrap physical games. That just sounds kind of dystopian almost, just to not have that option anymore at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of sad to see because I mean, I feel like that's just such part of it, like such a big part of the experience.
Yeah, I mean the days of like walking into, bringing like bringing like your kid to GameStop or something, and they just like go through the games. It's like they're doing that same thing, but they're doing it on the store now. Like they're not going out and doing that, and they're probably spending a lot more money than they have to by doing that. And also the whole factor of with a physical game, you can just give it to someone. Like if physical goes away, like how
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can't borrow
I,
games. Period. Like that's just gone.
I wouldn't have been able to play Medieval if you didn't give me that
Oh
game.
yeah, 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 and that's like that's completely and utterly eliminated if this goes away. Like that's kind of it's kind of bad.
Yeah, that's that's fucking horrible.
And here's the thing, like people are on both sides. I've seen people on our side where they're like, yeah, we should preserve the physical games. But I've literally, believe it or not, I've seen people say, like, well, no one cares about those, no one buys them anyway, and it's like, so you don't care if it just that whole like type of media disappears because you yourself don't buy any of them. Like, where is the argument? Like, you're just, even if you don't buy them yourself or you don't know anyone who buys them, it's still a nice option to have. You can't like act like it's just completely useless, right?
I mean, I agree with you. Just just because I don't like seafood doesn't mean other people shouldn't eat fish.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean that's kind of a ridiculous argument.
Yeah. It's really dumb. Like, and yeah, I'm hoping like the next, like I said, the next Xbox console. I'm pretty sure I heard it doesn't have a disc drive. Um, and I feel like Sony might like follow suit. Like, oh, they're getting rid of it. Like maybe we should do the same thing, and so no one can own their games because that's like kind of where we're heading. Like I said earlier, music and TV, that's not the biggest deal, but games, it's a different story with games. And yeah, like I literally have had games that have lost the license. Like there was this game, you might know it, you might not. It's called Transformers Devastation. It's a Transformers game. Like Transformers, like hack and slash, like brawler game. It's a really good game, but whoever owned Transformers like lost the rights or something, and you can never buy that game digitally again. But I think I had the physical copy of it, so I could keep playing it. Uh, and you couldn't buy that game anymore. You couldn't
There's
buy
a
it in
lot of
game.
games like that. There's a lot of
Oh
things
yeah,
that
there's
don't have
more.
license anymore, and
Yeah, stuff
I mean
just
that's
disappears.
how it was with NCAA football. You know, like if you didn't have a PS3 and have that game disc, you weren't playing that shit for 10 years.
Yeah, that's
And you
wild.
know, what happens if that happens again, where like something goes on, they're like, yeah, we're getting rid of this, and then you have another game franchise that is just dead and never going to come back, and you have no way of preserving it.
Yeah, right. Another horrible thing I just thought of, you know, there's people that are like literal like collectors, like they just have like thousands or hundreds of
physical games, if say theoretically the next PlayStation, the PS6, say it doesn't have a disc drive, that person, their entire library almost probably is gone. They'd have to rebuy the games they like digitally, and so their entire collection would be just null and void. I can't even imagine that.
And I'm not one of those people, but there is people that do that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous, like getting rid of physical media just because of the benefits. And I understand, like, I guess it depends if people aren't buying it, then unfortunately, eventually they're gonna say, well, what are we printing this physical media for to not sell it
Yeah.
and like wasted overhead, whereas we could just not do that.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly there's like an okay number of people buying this still, but publishers are starting to not do it. Like, I know Alan Wake 2, that's a horror game I played recently, really good game. That game did not release physically when it came out, and that's a big game. It's like a AAA game, and it didn't release physically, and that was bad news to me because I was like, man, they're gonna start doing this now. There's gonna be other people to do this because they're just like, I'm not even gonna bother printing this on the disc because, like, what's the point? Even though apparently people are buying them, but I guess they don't care. I'm trying to wrap my head around like the benefit from a publisher's perspective, like what the benefit is of deleting like the physical aspect of it. I'm assuming it's just because they want like complete control over your games. That's all. It's really all I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the more we advance technologically, I feel like the more ridiculous it's gonna get as far as ownership goes and kind of like,
Yeah.
they'll just start taking stuff away. I mean, it's already happened where they like games are online only and then they shut down the servers and then you can't play them
Yeah, and you
anymore.
literally
And
just can't play
a,
them. Yeah.
a bunch of shit like that. Like that's gonna just start happening more.
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to learn that like there's a big, especially businesses, they don't care about preservation. And I know this is kind of a different topic we're getting onto, but they don't care about preserving anything. They just all they care because there's not people in droves buying a 10-year-old game, right? So why what do they care? Who care? What do they care if you can't play a 10-year-old game? They don't care. All they know is they want you to buy their new game. They do not care about your collection or your library at all.
Well, guys, this is Lucid Rain. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.